Okay, so to wrap up this set, we'll look at the Rook versus Quince. I think Rook versus Quince is one that I could use more time on since the patch. There's changes to neutral since then that are important to note. It used to be a little harder for Rook, I think. Quince's damage was a lot higher, so whenever he did sort of get Rook with something, it was more punishing. Now Rook has an easier time closing distance. Rook mostly wants to walk Quince toward the corner and do mix-ups when you get there. But used to be Quince could stall out pretty effectively with his jump C, the little mirror. And with that on the field, Rook doesn't have a move that's very good at poking it away, because as long as Quince has meter, Quince waits to see Rook's committing to something and just hits him with ground super, and then corner carries him and does some kind of mix-up. Even with that old sort of dynamic, Quince always had the sort of problem, though, of to get significant damage, he had to commit to risk still. And if he gets knocked down versus Rook, he has a hard problem. So Mirror Summon was always a comment from Jube. Isn't Mirror Summon punishable by Earthquake now or something? It was punishable by Earthquake before as well. But you had to already be in the air. The window was pretty generous. It was like in the teens of frames for recovery. So if you were like moderately accurate, you could get it. But it was always made a little trickier because whenever Quince jumped in the air, Quince could do like an illusion jump B and then do a jump C. So it was a little hard to know when you needed to commit to do the Earthquake. But I think now with how Little Mirror works, Rook might be able to just see it happening and jump in response, because Quince spends way more time in the air. So that whole dynamic's a little bit out the window, but a big thing Quince has to watch out for is one of your main pokes, ground B. It can be reactable by Rook, especially if it's sort of the only move Quince uses to poke with. At range, Rook reacting with ground C is very strong. It's not like a super easy reaction, and Rook needs to be able to play the matchup without that tool, I think. It's a real pain when you can't. But Rook can always do sort of predictive jumps to get over ground B and start pressure, or use different timings of Earthquake to mess with Quince as sort of alternatives, or gamble on a landslide to catch it out. Those are all reasonable options. But we'll see how these matches end up going. After ground B is where things get a little sketchier for Quince too, because a lot of Quince's tools, like the conventional mix-up stuff, is just not very good value for a Quince. When every guess you make, if you're wrong, you take a knockdown that probably leads to death. It's hard. So we'll see. So Earthquake's pretty sketchy here. I'm not sure exactly what I was thinking it might catch. Earthquake does perform well against jump B after Rook blocks it, but in a case like this, Quince would bonk Rook out of the air, so it's probably not good. Splash like that is also very, very hopeful. Quince's back A is a fantastic anti-air, so anything reactable like this really just leaves you open to getting got. It also lowers Quince's hurt box when he does it. He low profiles, so Quince has even more time to see it coming and do stuff. So, good anti-air. A little bit of a messy opening for Rook. This is a good result for Earthquake. Getting over ground B like this, Earthquake just sort of guarantees we're going to knock Quince down out of whatever he decided to do. And now we're in the Oki mix-up, so clap, throw. The risk of Quince Yoming usually isn't so bad. Quince builds meter so fast anyway that you take one. If you're wrong, it's not the end of the world. Okay, gets out. Ground C's a pretty fake option there, but the way that jumped sort of respected it. Unfortunately, that only gets one off that juggle. But this is like a sneaky sort of setup normally. Earthquake is generally good against ground C. I think this is more me hoping that the edge of Earthquake would catch the mirror. It can sort of perform favorably. In this case, it certainly didn't. So, it just creates a weird, unfavorable two-truth start for Skippy, which is unfortunate. So, ground B ends up, or jump B ends up scooting him far away, and because he got committed to the second one, Earthquake was able to punish. and then meaty landslide kind of setup. Yeah, that was a hard setup off of the mirror break, I think, too. No blame for me. It was weird because it also pulled him out of the ground Z illusion stuff. So this is a good sort of landslide. If I think that Skippy's gonna jump away, which is a really common response to meaty landslide nowadays, then I can go for like a jump B, which would have done fine there probably. But here I just get lucky and get another earthquake to knock him down. So it's all sort of scrambly. Jump forward A like that's pretty sketchy too. I think so far I'm looking at this, I'm just picking a bunch of options wildly, I feel like, that are a little questionable. But it does okay if Quince is slow to react with like a back A, but if Quince was doing the typical like Yomi block plan that's really stable and safe, then this kind of jump forward A will lose to a back A on reaction basically every time. So worked out for Rook to get this, but if Rook wanted to be safe, something like a jump back C would probably be more stable, cover the cross-up illusion in a better way, and potentially be more punishing for Quince. Quince would still probably react either with ground super or something else, right? But works out. So, fine B. And something I'm noticing as I'm playing this match too is that Quince is going for a lot of cross-up Bs in these sorts of mix-up situations. I've hit him out of it a couple times in other spots. Something that Rook has that's really strong against it, and might come up in this set, is that if Rook tries to throw Quince after blocking ground B and it whiffs, Rook can always put in ground C as a sort of option select. If no throw or Yomi counter happened, then Quince has to be doing the cross-up. He's going to end up on the other side, and Rook's ground C or ground super will let Rook get a command grab successfully on Quince as a sort of punish. Let's back up a little bit and see what prompted this. Yeah, as a sort of like reaction to the thunderclap, it was good. I'm not sure, again, what the motivation was for me to try and do the thunderclap. With Quince only on 1 HP though, I think Rook can sort of get paid off for going for like a back A that tries to tag Quince out of the startup of a B. But it's not really a risk Rook should take. So I think these are just sort of questionable plays. Only 4 seconds left in the round, so I probably could have played stable, but here's an example of the OS in action, I'm pretty sure. So I get knocked over. Oh no, no, I was just wake up ground super. So it could always get baited out and punished pretty hard, so Quince can be conscious of the option, but in a situation like that, there's definitely risk for going for that ground B. The cross-up and everything. Another thing that's bigger about the thing now is you don't, like, could probably just jump C, punish Quince here, but you can also thunderclap the mirror and it's fine. Like, it doesn't let Quince do anything anymore. The stalling doesn't really work out. Yeah, bunch of spaghetti for me in this match, I feel. Like, some options are working out, but I think it's not very clean decision making. So fine sort of setup. The stuff that Skippy's been doing is all safe. When you're in Two Truths as a defender in general, most characters just really focus on not doing something that takes a bunch of damage because it's easy to get comboed for a bunch. So after getting block stringed for a bit, blocking the ground B, neutral jumping or forward jumping is usually a stable option here. It gets you out of the block stun from the illusion and lets you get in a position to punish whatever Quince is going to do next. I think it's worthwhile for Rook to keep reactions open too. If you see Quince jump toward you, then there's enough startup on his stuff that you should probably be able to jump super and blast him out of whatever he's trying to do. In this case, I see him jumping back, I go for an earthquake, and it happens to work out. Get the Oki mix. Getting something like this during Two Truths is nice. This is a good example of I didn't delay this at all, so if Skippy jumped, then he would have gotten out of the splash for free, because Quince also has the same feature that Onimaru has, where I hit him on like the last couple frames. Yeah, there's only 1, 2. Is the last frame of my jump, so if he jumps, his pre-jump totally dodges it and he gets out of it. Presumably, Quince's pre-jump her box is somewhere down here that doesn't get covered by Rook stuff. By the way, if you're a Rook and you want to deal with this, in general, Rook can do an empty jump in neutral A. At all the timings, he would do a safe jump, and it'll work fine against Quince and all these other characters. Like against Oni, it's not so good because neutral A loses to the armor moves and ground super and stuff in a way that a safe jump doesn't. So there's different motivations going on what you want to do. But against Quince, it's pretty free to do the empty jump neutral A's. But here we get a throw. It's still hard for Quince to get out, even if you're really leaning into this jump out of splash idea. More spots where it'd be nice for Rook to ground CB. Too bad about the ground super. It can do a turnaround, but if I thought it was going to be a cross-up, I could have gone for a throw and ground super option select. Lots of things like that. Oh, hey, Catboy. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for raiding in. Just reviewing some replays. I hope the Pokemon MOBA thing, whatever it's called. You know the one. I hope it went well. Beat up people with your jungle Gengar or whatever. So, I think this was, pretty close to getting the right kind of cross-up thing that Rook wants, but in this situation, down to 1 life, that was a nice sort of setup. Pokemon Unite. Thank you, Jube. Chavez is not featured on the stream right now. No, we're just going over the... Oh, does it still say Chavez on my... I tried to update my... Oh, it is? Alright. Hopefully I've updated it. Thank you. Sorry for the false advertising. There is no Chavez. Just got to use his name to get views, you know? Alright. Thanks for the update. Alright. So that was good. The jump B fake out gets the throw.
Perfect. Round 4.
That's another thing, like, it gets good damage, like a good setup, and Oki's strong for Quince and 2 Truths. You get some very damaging sorts of setups you can do off of it, but I always have to commit to some risk. The really safe stuff, getting like really basic chip, is okay, but it is not enough probably to win rounds with how poor Quince's stalling game is after some of those jump C things. Oh, there it is. That's what we want to see. So, ideally, you get something like the ground C or a ground super and catch that whenever Quince is wanting to use it neutral. You can predict with it, too. It's just, you know, it's risky. So, I thought I'd be really stubborn. Bad binds, but good option select, which makes up for everything. So, in this spot, I get bonked. This actually isn't the best spot for Rook to throw. Rook is minus, right? Better for Quince to do things. I don't care, apparently. So I do the throw and I input super, and as a result, I end up catching Quince for crossing up. Or so we thought. I didn't realize this, but I guess at point blank range, you should always do ground C instead. And then this is another spot where I'm just doing questionable decisions. Get a block across a B, go for a throw. Quince walks forward a little bit, but ends up getting bopped. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is probably don't do a lot of the things I'm doing here. Rook should do a back A GC combo there to get 3. This is a really questionable landslide. It does eat some 2 True this time. With that sort of knockdown, that's definitely the spot where Quince wants to get a ton of value if possible. So getting like the chip and pressure setup off of a knockdown is probably okay, but maybe the most powerful thing Quince wants is a really deadly, I don't know, like if you do an early ground B after a throw, you set up the illusion to cross up, and it lets Quince do some sort of Oki option, like whatever he picks is +1 damage because the illusion that's coming through. Yeah, yeah. So, in this spot, though, Oki Mix, that was a fine call. I wonder if, especially in 2 trues, I guess jump back and, like, illusion jump B probably gets a couple damage, right? Maybe there's something more powerful there. It's another bad landslide. Hey, there it is. Got another. This is the option select that works, so I whiff the throw, press the ground C, catch the Quince. Quince is in the corner. I'm probably going to back A because there's no way out of it. You can't jump. You can't Yomi. If you block, I get another mix-up. So, good games with Skippy. I wish I had more disciplined approach to that Quince game. I think that a lot of my options picked were pretty sketchy on the whole. So, you know, that's, I guess, a value of doing some replay review is I should grind out the matchup more with Skippy, with Rogue Yoshi. I don't know, different people. Hypergrav plays Quince. Might have been in this tournament. Hypergrav was definitely in the more recent Toronto top tiers when I played in, but playing with folks is good. A lot of the core like mix-ups that you end up playing, I played some with Aphotics, I think. Aphotics isn't, I think, overly familiar with the matchup either, but you know, just get more chances to play. That'll be a way that I can cement my decision-making in neutral. Oh, right, purple shirt. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we'll have to play. I forgot. I thought you only played Quince against Jaina. No, I'm kidding. That was my bad. My bad. So, all you Quince players out there, it's up to you to punish my very strange decision-making. So I think across the set, it probably shows that, like, stable Quince decision-making of doing, like, a fuzzy Yomi after ground B, taking plus frames and throwing or doing normal advantage stuff off of them, they probably would have paid off pretty well with how I was playing. Even just playing a stable defensive walk back and react to ground or jump C with different moves, probably okay. Rook is pretty punishing if you make any like slip ups or mistakes, which I think carried me in those interactions, but it's not something Rook players should count on. It's a boon when it happens, I guess, but that's how it goes. Hey, lawyer, how's it going? All right, so that wraps up games with Skippy. Thanks for playing in the tournament. I'm glad we got this chance. We can and definitely should probably play some more, right? Especially Quince. I've got to brush up on stuff, and I bet you'll have stronger strategies if we're playing more matches. Onimaro 1, I think always chances to optimize. Getting more chances to run boss against people is valuable for getting those perfect patterns down. Big checkmates. Damian, well, we'll wrap it up there. Yeah.